What is up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Fantasy Fellow Show. My name is Kyle. Tonight, Monday night, we got two games going on right now, Ravens and Bucks. Chargers and Cardinals about to start in a few minutes. But we're going to be looking at the post-game notes from Week 7. What we're going to do is we're going to open up the fantasyfellowship.com. If you guys are a member, this is an exclusive article for you guys. If you are not a member, what I'm going to do in this video is I'm going to kind of just talk about the first maybe 3 or 4 games and give you guys a sneak peek at what you guys could be getting if you become a member on the fantasyfellowship.com. I put a lot of time and effort into this, so this is it's good content. I think you guys will get a lot of information out of it that we can use to be better at fantasy football. So we're going to hop right into it. And again, all the downloads are here from the previous weeks if you guys want to look at that stuff. But we had 2 teams on bye, Dallas and Chicago. The Thursday night football game, it wasn't much of a game. The Saints kind of got throttled a little bit here, so I don't know how much we can read from this. But you have the Denver Broncos here, Bo Nix running the ball a lot, 10 carries for 75 yards. This was the Javonte Williams game, 14 carries, 88 yards, 2 touchdowns. The Saints just could not bring him down. He did lead the team in snaps with 41 snaps. Jaleel McLaughlin played 14. Estime got 6 snaps. He did get 5 carries, 29 yards, but he did lose a fumble in the fourth quarter here. So a little bit of an asterisk on that, but I still think he's a guy worth holding on to in deeper leagues. But right now it looks like Javonte Williams is the guy that you can continue to start as a running back too, as this maybe run game is looking a little bit better here. I know it's the Saints, but momentum is here. And Bo Nix, man, he didn't have a great passing game, 16 for 26, 164 yards. It looks like Troy Franklin might be emerging as his number 1 target here. 5 catches, 6 targets, 50 yards on the night for 10 PPR points. Cortland Sutton, of course, 0 targets on the night despite leading the team in snaps and routes. So the pecking order is murky here. We don't really trust Broncos receivers, but if I have to roster one right now, I'm willing to see what Troy Franklin can keep doing. We don't really care about Marvin Mims, but keep an eye on Devon Vele, who didn't have a big game, but he's had a couple nice games here. And then you're looking at Cortland Sutton again, holding on to Cortland Sutton, not know if we're starting him. I don't really want to start a Broncos receiver right now, but worth holding on to Sutton, worth holding on to Franklin. No tight ends. Hold Javonte Williams. Maybe add Estime. I don't think McLaughlin's someone that I care too much about. But Bo Nix startable in Superflex leagues right now. And the Saints, man, this one was tough. I mean, no Olave, no Shaheed, no Derek Carr. I kind of want to just scrap this. Spencer Rattler did not look good. 25 of 35, 172 yards, 5 for 34 as a rusher, but 2 fumbles. It's nice to see that he can add some numbers with his legs here, but the Saints just couldn't get anything going. Alvin Kamara, 6 for 14 as a receiver, 7 for 10 as a rusher. Kendre Miller actually looked good. He hopped Jamal Williams in this one, 3 for 17 as a carrier for Jamal Williams, 6 for 36 for Kendre Miller. He also caught 2 passes for 1 yard. So Kendre Miller, someone that I want to put on the end of my bench and see if he can continue to get more work going forward. I like what he's doing. And then the receivers. Without Chris Olave, Bub Means, Mason Tipton were the top 2 guys running the most routes. Tipton had the team high targets with 9, 6 for 45. Keep an eye on Cedric Wilson, just a veteran player here, 6 for 57 in the touchdown. Otherwise, I don't really want to start any of these guys. I think when Olave comes back and you get Derek Carr back in there, it's going to be Kamara, Chris Olave, and then you can maybe start Derek Carr in Superflex leagues. Hold on to Kendre Miller, though. Go stash Kendre Miller for the long-term rest of the season, because you never know. If Alvin Kamara gets hurt, you got something there. We'll move on to the Patriots and the Jaguars. Jags 32, Patriots 16. Drake May looks good. 26 of 37, 276 yards, 2 passing touchdowns, and 3 for 18 as a rusher. Now, only 16 points on the day for the Patriots, but this is a really solid bottom line here for Drake May. 20.84 fantasy points. He's thrown for 5 touchdowns in 2 games, over 500 passing yards in those 2 games here. I'm not willing to call him a QB1 yet, but in Superflex leagues, he is definitely startable as your QB2 right now. And I'm sure I'll get some questions about starting him in 1 QB league soon. They kind of rotated running backs here. Ramondre got 30 snaps, Hasty got 20, and Gibson got 10. I think Gibson got banged up in this one. None of these guys were really usable here. You're not using JaMycal Hasty, but he did get more run with Gibson out. I think you can continue to start Ramondre as he's hopefully getting healthier as a low-end RB2 flex play. Keep a hold on Gibson if you have him in deeper leagues here, and then we'll just note that if Stevenson or Gibson are out, Hasty might have some value here, as May's kind of just lifting the value of all the players around him. Specifically, Hunter Henry, 8 receptions, 9 targets, 92 yards. 17 points at the tight end position, man. That's like an A plus here. So you can probably scoop up Hunter Henry going forward. I think he's in a good spot. And then even Austin Hooper here, 4 for 5 targets, 32 yards, like showing that, hey, like Drake May, man, he can throw to the tight end. He can throw to the open player and get the ball out quickly. Hunter Henry should be picked up and probably started going forward. Receivers are a mess. Demario Douglas got hurt in this one. He was off to a nice start here. He had 2 catches early in this game, 2 for 14, but he left early. I think he's going to come back for week number 8. But Kayshon Boutte was the leading receiver with snaps and routes. Kendrick Bourne, number 2. Jalen Polk, it's not really working out. I think you can probably drop Jalen Polk in deeper leagues right now, especially redraft leagues. And then maybe if you want to, hold on to Boutte and Kendrick Bourne on the end of your bench, you can do that. But I still think it's Demario Douglas for me, Hunter Henry, Ramondre Stevenson, and then now I guess Drake May is totally usable. The Jags, man, they're coming around here. Trevor Lawrence, 15 of 20, 193 yards, 1 touchdown. Didn't have to do much because they were playing very well early. 2 for 13 on the ground here, and he did have a 2-point conversion. So solid day for Trevor Lawrence. He didn't have to do too much, but he played very well. Tank Bigsby, it was the day of the Bigsby here. 26 carries, 118 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Now, he's still not being used as a receiver, so he kind of has this weird Derrick Henry-like profile where he's going to get all the carries that he can get, not a lot of work in the passing game. In games where the Jags are expected to stay in the game or potentially win the game, I think Bigsby's an interesting play. Now, obviously, ETN wasn't in this one, so I think if you're looking going forward here, when ETN plays, he's still a low-end RB2. When Bigsby and ETN are together, I mean, you're gambling on Bigsby getting a touchdown for that day. Otherwise, I think he's probably in that 10 to 12 carry range, maybe a catch at the best. But ETN is still a play in PPR leagues, and then Bigsby just a low-end RB2 play. So I think there's room for both guys here. And then Dearness Johnson looks good. He was in the ETN role in this one, 9 for 38 as a rusher, 3 for 32 as a receiver. And this is kind of how I think it's going to continue to look going forward. It looks like Mike Evans is headed to the medical tent. I just got the alert there. So bad news for Mike Evans. But this Bigsby ETN dynamic, we're going to have to continue to monitor it going forward. I think both guys can be your RB2 going forward. And then Brian Thomas Jr., man, he was the guy today. 5 for 5, 89 yards, a touchdown. He had 2 carries for 2 yards, and he got a 2-point conversion. He's had 3 games in the last 4 games. He's been over 20 fantasy points. He's looking like a top 10 receiver right now. He might be a top 5, top 10 dynasty receiver as well. I absolutely love what's going on here with Brian Thomas Jr. He's a must start at this point right now. He's passing all the tests, and he is the alpha of the Jags receivers. And then Evan Ingram just continues to eat his targets, 5 for 35. If you're starting Jags, you want to go Brian Thomas, you want to go Evan Ingram, and then the running backs here with Bigsby and ETN. And then in Superflex, I suppose Lawrence is fine, not so much for one QB leagues quite yet. So I like the Jags. They're gaining momentum. They're 2-4 now, 2-5, whatever they are. They're playing better. So I like what we got going on there. Seahawks and the Falcons. Seahawks 34, Falcons 14. Kenneth Walker is just something else right now. 14 for 69 and a touchdown, 2 for 24 as a receiver. It's all flowing towards Kenneth Walker right now. So I like what we got going on here. And Geno Smith continues to play well. He took care of the football in this one. No turnovers, 2 touchdowns, 207 yards. They even let JSN throw a nice 35-yard play. So I like what's going on with this offense. And Metcalf, 4 for 99 and a touchdown. He did hurt his knee, I believe, at the end of this game here. So he might be out with a sprained knee for a game or two. I think they might hold him out for their bye week. So we have to monitor DK Metcalf's health. But if Metcalf's out going forward, you're looking at JSN and Lockett probably both being must starts. You can try and add Jake Bobo if you want, but I think the other pivot might be just more Noah Fant. That could be the recipe here. So I'm open to both. Again, JSN and Lockett in my starting lineups as a wide receiver 3+. And Noah Fant's the tight end if you need somebody there. Otherwise, Charbonnet led the way. Walker came into this one a little unhealthy. I don't know what the issue was, but they let Charbonnet Seahawks were up big, so they let Charbonnet kind of ice this game. Didn't really do a lot, though, 8 for 19. I don't think we're starting Charbonnet in fantasy football leagues quite yet, but Walker remains a must start. You're starting both Seahawks receivers, maybe Noah Fant, and now Geno Smith, man. I think he's a QB1 right now. So great game from the Seahawks. The Falcons, they did not play good, but Bijan Robinson looked good, 23.3 fantasy points. Kyle Pitts looked better, 13.5 fantasy points. Drake London He's a top 5, top 10 receiver asset right now. This is looking pretty good here for your Falcons supporting cast. It was just Kirk Cousins didn't have a good game. 2 interceptions. You're looking at 232 yards and a touchdown, which is fine. He just didn't come through, turned the ball over a little bit too much. And we did see Michael Penix Jr. at the end of this one. But the Falcons, we know what this team is. It's London, it's Mooney, it's Pitts, it's Robinson, and then a little bit of Algier. Actually, this one leaned more towards Bijan with 21 carries to only 5 for Algier. So if you're a Bijan owner, this is what you want to see. The splits are getting wider here, and Bijan's playing good. He's playing at a high level right now. He's a top 3, top 5 running back at the moment here. So nothing really crazy to note with the snap counts and things like that. Drake London, hats off. Like you guys nailed that draft pick. I think he's in for a career season. So bad game from the Falcons overall, but for fantasy, they turned out to be okay. Titans and Bills, I don't really want to talk much about the Titans, but no Tyjae Spears led to a ton of Tony Pollard. He was the bell cow feature back here, 16 carries for 61 yards, and then 2 for 4 as a receiver, 6 targets on the day, and he just dominated the snaps and routes. 65 to Julius Chestnut's 8, 31 routes, Chestnut's 1. Just Tony Pollard is RB1 when Tyjae Spears is out. So continue starting Tony Pollard. Even in tough matchups, he's still able to come through for a decent floor of 8.5 points. And then everything else is just kind of garbage here. Like Mason Rudolph can maybe be picked up in super flex leagues. We're just not starting Calvin Ridley. We're not starting DeAndre Hopkins, Tyler Boyd, Nick Westbrook. I don't care. The tight ends, I don't care. I don't care about this passing team here. This team is all Tony Pollard. We'll see what happens when Tyjae Spears comes back, but it looks pretty bad here for the Titans, and they get another tough matchup here going to the Detroit Lions next. Buffalo Bills, man. Josh Allen, 21 for 33, 323 yards, 2 touchdowns. They opened up the passing game here in this one with Amari Cooper now on the team, but a lot of mouths were fed. And surprisingly, no James Cook or Ray Davis really ate a lot in this one. So it's looking like Keon Coleman, 7 targets, 4 for 125. This was his best game as a pro. He might be someone worth, wide receiver 3 flex territory soon. We don't give a crap about Matt Collins, but Khalil Shakir, 7 for 7 and 65 yards. And Amari Cooper, 4 for 5, 66 yards and a touchdown. Like this Amari Cooper edition it just might be what they needed to just balance out the offense. And now they have an ace wide receiver 1. It's going to allow Coleman, Shakir, even Dalton Kincaid, 3 for 52. That's fine. But you have, 4 usable targets here for Josh Allen. He had one of his best passing days of the season. So this is a good outlook for the Bills going forward. You have James Cook, 12 for 32 and a touchdown. No targets in this one, which was weird. Ray Davis, 1 for 6 as a receiver, 5 for 41 and a touchdown. So both Bills backs find the end zone. We got some passing touchdowns here. I do have to add that other one here for the Bills here. But I think overall, you should be excited about the Bills. I think they're going to be back on track here, and we're going to see some more top 5 Josh Allen finishes going forward. So looks good. In terms of snaps, again, Coleman leading the way with routes, which is impressive. Shakir going to remain leading the team in routes, and I don't know whose snaps and routes are going to come down because Cooper's probably going to be in the top 3 next week. I don't know how that situation shakes out. We'll have to continue to watch that and see what's going on going forward. So I'll review the Bengals and the Browns once for the YouTube for the free stuff here, and then we'll go into the members only video here. But Bengals 21, Browns 14. Bengals didn't really play great. I mean, they got the kick return for the touchdown to open the game, and that kind of set the pace for a lot of things here. Joe Burrow, 15 of 25, 181, 2 touchdowns. He threw both to Chase and Higgins, which is great. -3 rushing yards here. Just an average day for Joe Burrow. You're fine with this. They didn't really need to do much. The game was never really in threat, so the Bengals didn't have to put their foot on the gas. But Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, they are the engine of this team. These guys are both must-start players. They're both the top 2 guys that you want in your lineups. And then Yoshivas remains the very clear wide receiver 3. So I think Yoshivas is worth holding on to in deeper leagues right now, just in case Chase or Higgins get hurt. We'll be talking about Yoshivas again. The tight ends, I just don't care about them. Eric All, though, I will note, led the team in tight end snaps and routes. I think that was his first game leading in both snaps and routes. Sample's always getting snaps and blocking. Jasicki's usually running more routes, but in this game, didn't matter for fantasy because Eric All didn't get anything, but I am noting that he's starting to bubble up to the top of the depth chart here. And then Chase Brown and Zach Moss. We saw 31 snaps for Brown, 27 for Moss. They basically had the same amount of routes, 10 for Brown, 11 for Moss, 2 for 9 for Brown as a receiver, 3 for 33 for Moss. So he continues to be their, third down kind of pass blocking specialist here, but it's clear that Chase Brown's the lead back on this team now. 15 for 44 as a rusher compared to Moss's 6 for 7. So continue starting Chase Brown, Zach Moss, kind of like a low-end RB2 play, emergency if you need it. So I still like Zach Moss, but it's clear it's Chase Brown. So for this team, it's in our lineups, it's Burrow, Brown, Chase, Higgins, maybe Zach Moss. Cleveland. Deshaun Watson's done for the year with a torn Achilles, ruptured Achilles, whatever. Dorian Thompson-Robinson got hurt, brought in Jameis Winston. I think Jameis Winston's the starting QB going forward. So super flex leagues, pick up Jameis Winston. He could be nice. This is super flex QB too. But after that, like Judy, with no Amari Cooper, Judy led the team in snaps and routes. So I think Judy's going to be a guy that has some value going forward. Didn't really matter for this game though. 2.8 fantasy points, 1 for 18 on 5 targets is not great. So I don't think we should start him yet, but I do want to see what he looks like with Jameis Winston. The guy here was Cedric Tillman. 8 receptions, 12 targets for 81 yards. He's the guy that you want to pick up in fantasy right now on waivers this week. And then Elijah Moore, 6 catches, 7 targets, 41 yards. I think both Tillman and Elijah Moore are worth picking up and adding to the bottom of your benches because that's the clear top 3 receivers. They all ran, we had 57 routes on the day. Judy ran 56, 47 for Tillman, 40 for Elijah Moore. And then David Njoku was the boss of the day, actually. 10 receptions, 14 targets, 76 yards and a touchdown. So this passing offense is now going to run through David Njoku. And then I'm very interested in seeing which receivers are going to bubble up to the top here. The running back splits, Pierre Strong Jr. kind of stepped into the Jerome Ford receiving role. He ran 31 routes on the day, only caught 1 of his 3 targets for 9 yards, which is fine. 3 carries, 6 yards. If Jerome Ford's out, Pierre Strong is the Jerome Ford replacement. Nick Chubb was the clear lead running back here. 30 snaps, 11 routes, 1 for 10 as a receiver, 11 for 22 and a touchdown as a rusher. Not a great stat line here, 11 for 22, but it's clear that they're going to give him, he's startable again. If he's going to be leading the team in carries, double-digit carries, and getting work in the passing game, Nick Chubb's back in our lineups here. He can be your RB2 flex going forward. So Browns, we got a lot to learn here. Hopefully we can figure some things out soon, see if Jameis Winston can kind of lift this offense up here. So, but hey, that's going to do it for the free section of the video. I'm going to play the outro. And if you guys are a member, you guys just stay tight and we'll see you on the other side. Peace.